Planet Vero Studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
She is a beauty influencer from New York City who commands attention.
He is a lawyer born and raised in Florida who lays down the law.
And together they are The Lady and the Law. Here are your hosts of The Lady and the Law, Cindy Grossman and Mitchell Goldman.
Well, I'm the law, so that means Cindy Grossman, you are
the lady.
Yes, and no one would ever make a mistake and think otherwise.
Gee, thanks.
Certainly the case. Beautiful lady.
Thank you.
And we have two engineers in our studio today. We must really be in trouble. I hope not. Sam and Jesse.
Ooh.
Hello, hello.
Say hello, Sam.
Hello.
Good. Well, again, we'll try not to get into trouble, but I know the law if there are any problems.
That's good.
So we'll get us out of trouble.
Good to know a lawyer.
It is. Some of my best friends are lawyers. Today, I wanted to talk about some topics that I get asked a lot about. I get a lot of calls. Clients want to discuss them. It's funny how there seems to be topics that come up periodically and other topics come up, but the ones today, to me, are interesting. So I'll try to keep our listening audience awake and explain what these topics are. And I think they are helpful. I think they're timely. And they, think about them. They may not work for you in your situation, but perhaps the time arises and you'll think about it. One of the topics I get asked a lot about is called a 1031 exchange. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Well, I do because I live with a lawyer, but a lot of people, I'm sure, have never heard about that.
And I'm sure your lawyer just tells you about these exciting topics all the time. Is that true?
Yes. See, some husbands, whisper sweet nothings, but I get, 1031 exchange. You need to know what it is.
Well, very good. And I'll try to explain it, as I know your husband gets excited when he talks to you about that as well. So what is a 1031 exchange? And the concept is really pretty easy. What you do or what you have is you have real estate. And let's say you've owned the real estate for a long time. It can be any real estate at all except for your primary residence. So it can be vacant land. It can be a single family residence that you use as a rental. It can be a duplex. It can be a commercial building. It can be pretty much any real estate other than your primary residence. Now, let's take this analysis a little further. I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but let's take it a step further. You've owned this property a long time. And as we know, we've seen a lot of appreciation in property. Values have really gone up. Lately, maybe not so much, but over the last 10 years, 5 years, they've really gone up. And let's say you decide you want to sell this property. Okay. Now, during your ownership of the property, you've probably depreciated it off your taxes. So that helps, save money on your taxes. But what happens when you sell the property? There's a day of reckoning, because your basis, your cost basis, you're going to have to, that day of reckoning will come and you're going to pay taxes on the sale. So what do? Well, there are a couple things you can do, and one of them is called a 1031 exchange. So what you do is, instead of selling the property outright and pocketing the money that you get from the sale, you go through what's called an intermediary, and the intermediary holds the money. And you, as the seller, go out and find a replacement property. So it's called a 1031 exchange. You're exchanging one property for another. Now, you don't have to close at the same time. So when you sell it, you don't have to buy another property simultaneously. That's very difficult and doesn't happen very easily. But what you can do is when you sell the property, the relinquished property, the property you currently own, the money goes to, as I said, a third party, a qualified intermediary who can be a lawyer, it can be an accountant, someone who doesn't represent you. There are exchange companies that hold the money, and they hold the money while you find a replacement property to invest in. And that replacement property, again, it's a like-kind property. It can be a commercial property. It can be vacant land. It can be a duplex, single-family residence, as long as it's not intended to be your primary residence. And then you take the money from the sale of your relinquished property and you buy the replacement property. And that's not taxable as long as you put all the money in from the sale of your initial property. If you didn't put all the money in, some of it's going to be taxable. But a 1031 exchange, the benefit is you don't pay the tax upon the sale of your property, and you buy other property that you want more or that better suits your needs. Let's say you had a property that was very lucrative, but it was a lot of management responsibility. Instead, you can buy one or more properties maybe that aren't so intensive and so difficult to manage, or for a variety of reasons. You want to sell one property and you find another to be of greater benefit to you, or offers more appreciation, you think, because it's in a better location for you. I mean, whatever reason you have, the 1031 exchange may work for you. You want to diversify. Let's say you have one property that you like and you've owned for a long time, but there's a risk. When you own one property, all your eggs are in one basket. Maybe you want to own multiple properties, and that provides better diversification for you. So that's another reason to consider a 1031 exchange. It's also called a Starker exchange. So when your husband tells you about this and he wants to give you this information, you should listen to him.
Yes, of course. But now when you say own the property for a long time, how do you define long time? 2 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Well, there's no magic number.
Oh.
It has to be owned at least a year.
Oh, okay.
And the longer you've owned it, probably the greater the appreciation in the property. So even the more reason to do this kind of exchange.
Okay. And then you talk about this third party holding your money. I know, people don't trust anybody. So how do you determine who that can possibly be?
Well, it has to be someone that's unrelated to you.
Okay.
For example, if a client of mine wants to conduct a 1031 exchange, I can't hold the money for the client.
Represent them.
Because I represent them. So my representation imputes a kind of ownership in the money that the client has. The client has to give up the control of the money. So I hire an attorney who never has represented them.
Okay.
Or a lot of the title companies, the national title companies, they have exchange companies that are specifically designed to hold the money pending the purchase of the replacement property.
Okay. And is there a time frame how long you have to do this?
Yes, excellent question. It's like, I thank you for bringing that up. You have 45 days from the date that you sold the property, your property, to identify replacement properties. That doesn't mean you have to close on it, but you have to identify, you can identify up to 3 properties that you want to potentially buy as replacement properties, or 150% of the sale price of the initial property, either or. and you have to close on one or more of those properties within 180 days of the date you sold the replacement property.
Okay.
So there is a time frame. What happens if you don't find replacement property that you want,
Yeah.
or you don't close on all of them, and you have money that you haven't put in to a replacement property? What do you think happens then?
I think you get the money and you have to pay the taxes on it.
Excellent. You're absolutely right. You get the money. So the worst that happens is you get the money and you're going to have to pay the taxes. So my advice generally is, when I represent a client and there's a sale and it's a significant amount of money, and if they've owned the property for a while and there's appreciation and depreciation for tax purposes, I always like to mention this as a possibility. Some say, no, I just want the money. I don't want to deal with property anymore. Others say, wow, that's something to think about. And I recommend they talk to their CPA so they understand what taxes they may face and opportunities to, legally avoid having to pay these taxes. So on that high note, we're going to come back after this commercial break.
The law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine is here to help you with your personal legal challenges, business needs, and real estate matters. Since 1984, we have assisted countless numbers of Florida individuals and businesses with their legal issues. From trusts and estates, wills, real estate, and civil or criminal litigation, we pride ourselves on maintaining lifelong client relationships and would appreciate the opportunity to assist you and your family as well. Please call 321-639-1320 for further information on the law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine. I'm a non-attorney spokesman. Advertising is essential. You've got to make people aware that you're there. We can do that with a cohesive marketing campaign from Evergreen Media. Based on your business goals, we'll create a mix of digital advertising on social media sites like Facebook, video advertising on streaming sites like Hulu and Paramount Plus, and supplement them with local TV and radio ads. Build awareness, educate, and inform the public with a cohesive marketing campaign by Evergreen Media. Check out egreenmedia.com. or search online for Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day.
At Sunshine Furniture, we've been the outdoor furniture experts for over 30 years and carry the largest selection of patio furniture, all made in America. Hundreds of styles, colors, and fabrics to choose from in outdoor wicker, aluminum, and recycled plastic from Lloyd Flanders, Polywood, Berlin Gardens, O.W. Lee, Windward, Woodard, Telescope, and others, all made to withstand our Florida climate, in stock and ready for you to enjoy. Right now, we're having a spring sale on selected groups, and also all pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price. We also specialize in replacement cushions, umbrellas, beach chairs, outdoor rugs, and fire pits. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1, Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
Hi, this is Willie Miller, host of Arts Blast on the Air. Listen to my show to learn about the people and events that make up our great arts community. Tune in to Arts Blast on the Air with me, Willie Miller, Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on your weekend home for Planet Vero Radio, Real Radio 1017.
Need an enlightening pick-me-up? Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy to energize your skin and keep it looking fabulous forever. Kristen can help with hair removal, sugaring to keep your whole body smooth and conditioned. Kristen will help you refresh and defend your skin while giving you a customized facial. Cindy helps skinergize and get you camera ready for your everyday look or special occasion. Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy. Find them on Facebook under the Skinergy Squad.
And we are back with me
Yes.
and lady in the law, and I'm not the lady, so I must be the law, and my beautiful wife, Cindy Grossman, is beautiful lady.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining me. And we have Jesse and Sam. They're still back taking care of us, and we appreciate that. We need the help. The first half, we spoke about the 1031 exchanges, and you asked me some really good questions. And one other technique to save on taxes, maybe might work for some people, is to do owner financing. So if you own a property free and clear, instead of getting all your money, if you don't want to do a 1031 exchange, is you can carry some of the debt. So let's say you have a property, you're going to sell it for $1 million, for example, and you're going to get $500,000 down from the buyer, and you're going to carry $500,000 in financing. So that means you'll get a note and a mortgage, you'll get an interest. The good thing about that, to avoid taxes, is you're only going to be taxed in the year of sale on the money that you receive. So if you get $500,000 in 2023 and you get monthly payments thereafter, then in 2024, you're only going to be taxed on the monthly payments that you receive. And if the note goes for a number of years, it's not like you got all the money in 2023. It doesn't work that way. So as you know, when you get monthly payments, part of it is principal and part of it is interest. So you'll only be taxed on the principal as you receive it. And of course, interest is ordinary income. So again, if this is something you want to talk about, speak to your CPA, your legal advisor, and they can better explain things along these lines.
That has to certainly be a contract that's ironclad, I would think, because here you're giving up your home, which is, you're selling for $1 million, you're collecting $500,000, and you're gonna keep the note on it, and so what happens if the person decides not to finish paying? What's the
recourse?
Yeah,
you foreclose the mortgage. But you want to make sure that if you're going to do this, that the borrower has, skin in the game, because if you have to foreclose and you have to take the property back, you want to make sure that there's plenty of equity to get back and give the borrower or the buyer a disincentive not to pay, disincentive. You want to make sure that they pay you. So they don't want to lose that much money.
Right. Oh, so you would not have to give them back the initial $500,000?
No way. You get the property and all the money they've paid.
Wow.
So not a bad deal, huh?
No, something
Maybe you
to
want
think
them
about.
to default.
Oh,
Let me ask you another question. This comes up a lot, and I know from recent experiences that we've had and your experience, I get the question a lot, do I have to go through a realtor to sell my property? Sometimes I get calls from people, they say they want to sell the property on their own. And sometimes they may, be talking to a neighbor, and the neighbor says, oh, my parents want to move down and we want them to live in the same neighborhood. Okay, that works fine. Are you comfortable with the price that's being offered? And how do you come up with that price? But some people, they just think they, really want to try to sell their house on their own. What do you think about that? Can people sell their house on their own, find their own buyers without using a realtor?
Well, I know it can be done. I mean, legally, you can sell your house on your own. I find that having a realtor and leaving it to an expert, makes a lot of sense, I have to say.
And why do you think that? What are some reasons?
They're professional. They've been, I would hope they have been doing this for quite some time, and they're, experts at doing that. And I think getting involved in a negotiation is not always great. I think leaving it to a realtor to talk to the buyer, let's say if I'm the seller and the buyer's realtor, I think it's a better way of going about it, rather than you having to deal directly with the person or maybe even their realtor at that point.
I think you're right. I think there are reasons that people can sell their houses. They don't have to have a realtor if for example, it's a neighbor selling to like another neighbor and they know the buyer, okay, the realtor doesn't do the closing. The realtor is really the person that markets your house. So what, in your experience, what services do the realtors perform for you that you wouldn't really want to do yourself?
Oh, I think it's all about marketing your house to the right, people, and figuring out what's, the right ways of going about it in that case. I mean, and I think realtors have a huge, channel, so to say, of other realtors they can, broadcast it to. And, I just think it makes sense.
I think you're right, because the realtors have access to the MLS, the multiple listing services. They market, they know other realtors. That's part of it. But also, let's face it, from experience that you've had, do you want to do the pre-qualification of a prospective buyer? Do you want to show up at an open house and show everybody, for half the day what the house is like? Do you want to do walkthroughs with people interested in looking at the house? Are these things that you really want to do? Field calls about the house? If you don't use a realtor and you really just want to do what's called a FSBO, for sale by owner, and stick a sign in your yard, well, these are things that you're going to have to deal with. People are going to come up to your house, knock on your door at different hours of the day. And are you going to be comfortable showing them the house by yourself?
No. And that's another thing, security. And at least when, the other realtor brings somebody to your home and is dealing with your realtor, I mean, there is a safety precaution there. They at least, I would hope, qualify, like you said, qualify the buyer.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I remember this one closing. I think it was a for sale by owner, and I think there were 4 contracts that fell through. Not saying all contracts with realtors always close, but I've never had that many, and it was a nightmare. The buyer really wasn't qualified, and it's just a mess. So yeah, in one sense you think you save money, but how do you know what the price of the home should be? It's just your guess, what you talk with other people. A realtor will give you some idea of value. You can always hire an appraiser if you wanted, but I think for the most part, when I get asked this question, unless you know the buyer and it just comes to you because of whatever reason, I think hiring a realtor pays for itself from the seller standpoint. So yeah. I think we're out of time. I've given a lot of information, I hope, which is helpful. And if you have any questions, just let us know, or any other questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you.
And we can certainly help you find a great realtor and a great real estate attorney.
Have a good one.